Amarachi's dream salon by the river was meant to be her fresh start, a place of beauty and hope. But each braid she weaves brings a curse no one can explain. And now, as the river whispers her name at night, a horrifying secret is about to surface. Watch the full video. The sun was still crawling out of the horizon when Amarachi placed the last wooden chair outside her brand new salon. The small building, painted in bright orange, stood proudly by the riverbank at the edge of Yumu's village, a place known for its peaceful mornings and whispering waters. For years, Amarachi had dreamt of this moment. After losing her job in the city and returning home with nothing but a box of hair tools and a stubborn hope, she promised herself she would rise again. And now, Amara's Touch was open for business, a small salon where she would plait, weave, and braid her way back to success. But if only she knew. If only someone had told her the story of the river. The first day went smoothly. Her childhood friend, Ngozi, was her first customer. "Make the style fine. Oh, I'm going to my fiancé's house today," Ngozi joked, adjusting her wrapper as Amarachi worked. By evening, Ngozi hugged her tightly and left, grinning from ear to ear. Amarachi felt proud, her dream was coming alive. But the next morning, a strange thing happened. Ngozi was found wandering the village barefoot, talking to herself, her freshly braided hair undone and tangled as if she had fought with something in the night. "Something was touching me in my sleep," Ngozi cried when they brought her home. "Something cold, it kept whispering my name." People said it was stress. Others said Ngozi had been bewitched. Amarachi dismissed it too, until it happened again. 3 days later, Chiamaka, a shy secondary school teacher, came to braid her hair before the school's cultural day. Amarachi worked carefully, weaving long, neat cornrows as Chiamaka hummed a song. Everything felt normal, until dusk. That night, Chiamaka screamed so loudly that people from 3 compounds away rushed to her hut. They found her trembling, blood dripping from where she had torn out the braids with her bare hands. "They were moving," she sobbed. The hair was crawling. Fear crept into Amarachi's heart. 2 customers, 2 strange events. But it couldn't be her fault. Could it? One afternoon, Amarachi was sweeping the salon floor when an old woman stopped by. She was dressed in faded Iziagu cloth and leaned heavily on a walking stick carved like a serpent. "You built your shop too close," the woman rasped, staring past Amarachi into the river. "The river spirits do not like it." Amarachi laughed nervously. "Mama, it's just a river. People fetch water there every day." The woman shook her head slowly. "It's not the water that watches you, my daughter. It's what lives beneath." Before Amarachi could ask more, the old woman walked away, and Amarachi never saw her again. By the end of the second week, no one wanted to enter Amara's Touch. Rumors spread like wildfire. People claimed they heard whispers whenever Amarachi plaited hair. Others swore that the water level near her shop rose and fell without rain. Desperate, Amarachi tried to prove everyone wrong. She offered free hairstyles to anyone brave enough. Finally, Ifani, a bold university student home for the holidays, agreed. "Plait it well, auntie," he teased. "I'm not afraid of ghosts." But halfway through the hairstyle, Amarachi felt something she had never felt before. The comb slipped from her hand, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Her fingers grew cold. And when she looked down, a single droplet of water was sliding down one of Ifani's braids. There was no rain. No humidity. Yet the water trickled, and then another, and another. Auntie, is your hand wet?" Ifani asked, frowning. But Amarachi couldn't speak. Because as she touched the next braid, the droplet turned red. That night, Amarachi couldn't sleep. She dreamt of the river bubbling violently, of dark hands reaching from beneath the surface, and of dozens of braided heads floating like dead flowers on the water. When she woke up, her comb, the one she used on Ifani, was gone. In its place, lying in the middle of the salon floor, was a long strand of hair, dripping wet. And that was when she heard it, a faint voice, soft as the breeze, coming from the river outside. "Bring more." Amarachi froze where she stood. The voice was too clear to be her imagination. It sounded like a whisper carried by the wind, curling around her ears and slipping straight into her bones. "Bring more." She backed away slowly from the salon door and pressed her back against the wall, her heart thudding hard enough to shake her ribs. The night was unusually silent. Even the crickets, always chirping along the riverbank, were gone. The only sound was the soft lapping of water and that whisper. For days she tried to pretend she hadn't heard it. She swept the hair strand and threw it into the bush. She prayed. She sprinkled anointing oil in the salon. But the whisper didn't stop. Sometimes it came when she was braiding. Sometimes in her sleep. And sometimes, worst of all, it came from inside her mirror, behind her reflection. A week later, her elder brother, Obinna, came to visit. "Amara, you don't look fine," he said, scanning her face. "You're pale. Are you eating at all?" She wanted to tell him everything about Ngozi, Chiamaka, the whispers. But who would believe such a story? Instead, she forced a smile. "I'm fine, Obinna. Just tired. Business is slow." "Close this salon," he said suddenly, his tone serious. "I've been hearing things, Amara. People are saying evil spirits are around this river." Amarachi's hand tightened around her broom. "I can't close it. This is all I have." Obinna sighed and left before nightfall. But as he walked away, Amarachi noticed something strange. The river, calm just moments ago, now rippled as if something huge had moved beneath the surface. That night, she woke up gasping for air. Her bed was soaked, not with sweat, but with river water. The floor was wet too, leaving a trail that led to her salon door. And the comb she lost days ago was now lying on her pillow. But it wasn't empty. Strands of hair, black, brown, and red, were tangled around its teeth. She recognized every one of them. Ngozi. Chiamaka. Ifani. Amarachi screamed. The next morning, determined to end whatever madness was happening, she decided to confront the river itself. Just before dawn, she carried the comb, wrapped in a white cloth, and walked toward the water's edge. The river was strangely still. The air felt heavy. She knelt and spoke aloud, her voice shaking. "I don't know what you want. But leave me alone. Leave my salon alone." For a moment, silence. Then, a ripple. Then another. And then, a figure began to rise. It was a woman. Or at least, it looked like one. Her body was woven from strands of hair, long, floating, and black as night. Her eyes were pale and empty, and where her feet should be, there was nothing but water. "Do you know whose ground you built on?" the figure hissed. "This land was not yours to claim." Amarachi stumbled back. "Who are you?" "I am the keeper of what was taken. And every braid you weave calls back what was lost." The river churned violently, and Amarachi saw faces beneath the surface, dozens of them, staring up with hollow eyes, their hair stretching toward her like hands. "Bring more, or become one of them." The figure vanished, leaving only the sound of water crashing against the bank. Amarachi's legs gave way. Now she knew. This wasn't just about hair. Something buried beneath that river, something ancient and angry, had awakened. And it wanted her. The next day, Amarachi locked up the salon and fled to the village shrine. The chief priest, a stooped man named Dibyanana, listened quietly as she poured out everything: the whispers, the water, the figure, the comb. When she finished, his face was pale. "You should never have built there," he said slowly. 50 years ago, that river swallowed an entire family. The mother was a hair weaver, known across Igbo land. They say she cursed the water before she drowned, swearing her gift would never be forgotten. "Then what do I do?" Amarachi whispered. The old man stared into the distance, as if seeing something far beyond the walls. "You must give the river what it seeks, or find a way to silence its hunger forever. But know this, Amarachi, once a spirit tastes a soul, it never forgets." That night, Amarachi didn't sleep. She sat by the river until dawn, staring at the salon she once dreamed. Now it was a doorway. A trap. A bridge between the living and the forgotten. And as the morning mist rolled over the water, she heard it again, that voice, softer now, almost gentle. "Bring more." This time, though, it didn't come from the river. It came from inside the salon. Amarachi's heart hammered so hard she thought it would burst through her chest. The voice, that low, wet whisper, echoed from somewhere deep inside Amara's touch. Every instinct in her body screamed run, but her legs refused to move. Slowly, she reached for the rusty iron key hanging around her neck and unlocked the salon door. It creaked open. Inside, everything was exactly as she'd left it, the mirror leaning against the wall, the combs arranged neatly on the shelf, the chairs lined up like silent witnesses. Yet the air felt wrong, heavier, colder, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Bring more. This time the voice came from the mirror. Amarachi's eyes snapped toward it, and her blood turned to ice. Her reflection was smiling. She wasn't. But the image in the glass was, a wide, unnatural grin stretching across its face. Then, slowly, the reflection began to braid its own hair, even though Amarachi's hands were frozen at her sides. No, 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 she whispered, backing away. The mirror fogged over, and when it cleared, the image had changed. It wasn't her anymore, it was a woman dressed in traditional Ichafu and Ankara, her hair flowing endlessly into the water behind her. And behind the woman were dozens of figures, men, women, and children, all with half-braided hair and blank white eyes. You carry the gift, the woman in the mirror said, her voice sounding like rushing water. Now, you must feed it. The salon door slammed shut behind Amarachi. The windows darkened. Water began seeping up through the floorboards, crawling toward her bare feet like living fingers. Feed it, or join us beneath the river. Amarachi ran. She didn't even remember unlocking the door. One moment she was surrounded by water and whispers, the next she was sprinting barefoot through the dirt path toward Mama Uju's compound, screaming for help. Mama. Open the door. Please. The old woman opened it, startled. Amara, what is it? What happened? Amarachi collapsed on the floor, sobbing. There's something in my salon. In the mirror. It spoke to me, it wants me to bring more people. Mama Uju's face drained of color. She crossed herself 3 times and whispered, Chinika Quina. God forbid. But before Amarachi could explain more, a small pool of water began forming right there, in the middle of Mama Uju's clay floor. Amarachi froze. It grew larger, spreading outward like a living thing. And from the center of it, a single braided strand began to rise. Mama Uju screamed. The entire village gathered that night at the Obi, the ancestral meeting ground. Fear hung over the crowd like a dark cloud. Some demanded Amarachi burn the salon. Others wanted her banished. This is not ordinary, one elder muttered. She has stirred the wrath of. Then we must make an offering, another said gravely. Amarachi's legs gave out. Offering? What kind of offering? The oldest man in the village, Ease Nana, turned his milky eyes toward her. Blood calls for blood. The goddess is angry because the boundary between her world and ours was broken. You built too close. Now, she hungers. The crowd went silent. And if I refuse? Amarachi whispered. The elder's answer was cold and simple, then you will feed her yourself. That night, Amarachi dreamt again, only this time, it felt too real. She was underwater, deep in a world of endless darkness and hair. Hundreds of bodies floated around her, their faces twisted in silent screams. Their braids moved like snakes, wrapping around her arms and legs, pulling her down. And in the center of it all was the woman from the mirror, sitting on a throne of woven hair, smiling with eyes that knew no mercy. Bring more, or stay forever. Amarachi woke up choking, not from water, but from strands of hair coiled tightly around her neck. By morning, she had made up her mind. She would not run. She would not abandon her dream. She would face whatever lived beneath that river, and end it once and for all. But as she walked toward the salon with a lantern and a bag of salt and charcoal, she noticed something that made her blood freeze. The salon door was already open. And someone was sitting inside. It was a little girl, no more than 7, humming softly as she braided the hair of a headless mannequin. Her eyes were pure white. And when she turned to look at Amarachi, water poured from her mouth as she smiled. Auntie, the river is waiting. Amarachi's breath caught in her throat as the little girl's milky eyes fixed on her. Water dripped from the child's lips, forming small puddles on the salon floor. The air was freezing now, colder than any harmattan morning. "Who are you?" Amarachi whispered, clutching the lantern tighter. The little girl tilted her head. "I was the first," she said softly. "The first she took." "Who?" "The weaver beneath." Before Amarachi could blink, the salon walls began to breathe. The mirrors trembled, the floorboards twisted, and water gushed from beneath the chairs, spiraling around her feet like living ropes. "Bring more, or stay." "No." Amarachi screamed, dropping the lantern. "I won't be your servant. I didn't know this land belonged to you, but I will not feed you with innocent souls." The water surged higher, swallowing the chairs, creeping up her waist. The little girl began to dissolve into mist, her smile fading. "Then you must face her." And before Amarachi could move, the water swallowed her whole. It was silent. Black. Endless. Amarachi drifted downward, hair swirling around her like seaweed. All around her floated the lost souls, the victims of the curse, their braids stretching toward her like desperate fingers. And in the center of that watery tomb sat the weaver. Her body was woven entirely of hair, her eyes hollow whirlpools, her voice echoing in Amarachi's skull. "Why do you resist, child? I gave you my gift. Through your hands, my name lives again." "You cursed me," Amarachi spat, struggling against the pull of the current. "You destroyed lives. I saved them. They belong to the river now. As you will." "No," Amarachi reached into her pouch and pulled out the charcoal and salt, the very things Dibia Nana told her could break spiritual bonds. With trembling hands, she whispered a prayer her grandmother once taught her. "What lives beneath must stay beneath. What belongs above must rise." The water roared. The weaver shrieked. Her hair lashed out like tentacles, wrapping around Amarachi's throat, wrists, and ankles. "Foolish girl. You cannot undo what is woven." But Amarachi screamed louder, pressing the salt against the strands. One by one, they hissed and disintegrated into smoke. The weaver howled, a sound so terrifying it cracked the silence of the deep. The water around Amarachi turned into a violent whirlpool, sucking everything, the souls, the braids, the spirits, down, down, down. Then everything went dark. When Amarachi opened her eyes, she was lying on the muddy bank, soaked and shivering. The salon was gone, reduced to splintered wood and floating debris. Villagers stood at a distance, staring in stunned silence. "Amara," Ngozi whispered, rushing to her side. "What happened?" Amarachi sat up slowly, her hands trembling. "It's over," she murmured. "She's gone." The villagers looked at the calm, glassy river, now still and silent for the first time in decades. The whispers had stopped. The curse had ended. But as Amarachi walked away, something caught her eye. Floating gently by the shore was a single braid, black, wet, and swaying with the current. For a moment, she thought she heard a faint whisper beneath the water. Not yet. Then it was gone. Fire the end fire. Woman getting haircut medium skin tone. Did Amarachi truly defeat the weaver, or is the river just waiting for the next soul? Ghost, what would you do if you discovered your dream business was built on cursed ground? Run away or fight like Amarachi? Thought balloon, drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to know what you think really happened beneath the river. Bell, and if you enjoyed this chilling story, subscribe to the channel for more suspenseful, dark African tales every week. Your support helps us bring even deeper stories to life.